What up, guys? Enough talk. Our L5R video podcast. I'm Jesse.
I,
That is Paul.
them,
That
I,
is
them.
Paul. Items. All right. There's only 18 of them, so everybody get your barf bags.
That might be too many. It might
Yeah.
be
If there
too
were if
much.
there were 21, this would be a grind. But I think this is gonna be one of our shorter videos because
Yep.
look at this card. Look at this card to my
So,
left.
so I'm Paul. That's Jesse. This is a samurai soul, and this is probably the best of it. Like here, this
Uh,
is the best you can do for an item. It's +2, +1 for 2, and it's one-handed, so I can put two of them on my Kensei. And I can't argue with that as a card. I can't like say like that shouldn't
I
exist or
can.
it's not good enough.
I can definitely
It's
say it
fine.
shouldn't
But
exist.
if you like, would I play a 2 force 1 cheap personality for 2 golds? Yeah, all the time. So whatever. Like, I'll play this card. I'll play it in my blitz decks. I'll buy it off my Toils of Zokujin, and then I'll play my cards that make my weapons bigger to try to take early provinces. And fine, a Samurai Soul,
Okay.
you get a pass from me. You're not a barf bag
Toils.
card.
The Toils point sells me on the card.
Yep.
I thought that was a card. There's two cards now. You got the Smith's Hammer and the Samurai Soul. They can both be purchased with your Toils. That makes it a perfectly acceptable turn one purchase in your all one for ones blitz deck. So all right, you got me. But in general, this sort of can't get excited about it card. Like surprise, surprise, I can't get excited about it.
That's right.
Also, I want to take this time to remember when Kensei had two Wormbone katanas? Like let's just think about that.
A Cursed Relic plus Wormbone. Yeah, that was a much different time for kids. So
Those
here's a
were the
barf baggy card.
days.
This is a barf baggy card for me.
Vicento, 6 gold, 2 force to destroy.
It bows. It just bows a thing, and then I can destroy it if it's a one-handed one. So I love that we're to the point now where we're making cards that destroy like the weakest, crappiest other card. It's like having like Chittick, but only for contests. It's just like it does it. Like, okay,
what I
man.
like what I like about this is that it's an item that blows up other items. It's like items are so terrible that it couldn't blow up spells, it couldn't blow up files. Like
Yeah.
we're not good enough for that. So we'll just fight amongst ourselves. Um,
So it's not. I feel like there's an argument that isn't that terrible. Like people played Boa Virtual Blessing, and that was just like
plus
Naval Bauer card, and this Bowser card, and okay, that's fine. But +2 +1 for 6. It doesn't help your math very much. You don't care about the chi bonus. It's two-handed. You can't play it in that dually deck like you did with Bo. I don't think anybody actually ends up playing this card, especially because for 1 more gold, I'll just take my melee 4 effect from Sohai's Ono.
indeed. So let's instead talk
But
about
if
eternal armor. Um,
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of like the Eternal Armor, but then I don't know what deck I'm playing it in. Is my thing. Like as an attachment, I read it and say, okay, that's pretty good. I
yep,
guess it's for like your Earth Shugenja Crab deck, and you just make them discard all kinds of cards.
for sure. Um, my problem with this card, I agree. Like it's a cool idea and a cool concept. But the problem with this card is that it exists in a format that has Temple of Destiny and that has all these Ashigaru followers and enlistments
Tons of
and
discipline cards.
tons of
Also,
discipline
your opponent
cards.
still can just like target the armor first and destroy it, or target a different personality, and you say, "Well, I'll put it on the guy I really want to protect, and it will protect them." And like, yeah, but it's pretty hard to construct a deck that wins with only a single
Right.
personality. And
That's a good point.
even if you do that to win with a single personality, you generally get one armor, and you maybe need to use other cards to make your one personality powerful enough to be awesome. So it's just it's a card that I feel like people can see it and they understand it and they try it, but it just never ends up being good enough.
Yeah. If you attach this to your huge personality, he'll still just
Yeah.
be like 6, 7 force. And so all you gotta do is stand there, like, oh, if you target me, I get a discard. Okay, I pass.
Yep.
There you go.
So, Farmer's Kama, another one of these cards that, because of its cheapness and because of the fact that you'll be putting it on a Kensei off of Toils, it's like +2 +1. And this one has Expendable, and you can have two of them, and it's got a battle ability. So, it's fine. It's unobjectionable. It doesn't really do anything, and Kensei are kind of terrible. So, there's all of those problems.
So it's a peasant weapon. Mantis has that little sub theme of you have a
Yep.
peasant weapon do something. I don't think any of that is good enough for this card to get serious consideration. I do have an objection to this card though. It is total rubbins that the Air Dragon, a 15 gold
Yes.
personality's ability appears on a 2 gold
And
weapon.
2 gold weapon,
Like,
yeah.
come on,
Which the
guys.
the air dragon cannot attach a farmer's
Come on,
comma.
guys. Like, they
It's
couldn't, like, on a 15 gold, 15 honor requirement personality, they've decided that his ability is worth
the
2 gold.
same
2
two
gold.
gold, and it's like it replaces itself when it's really it's absolutely rubbins for the air dragon. It's really bad. So Fubatsu Blade, this card will be played because it's a 4 focus weapon with a good stat plus G modifier. Also, it's one-handed, so maybe the Dueling Kensei deck will one day come about. People have been trying to get Dueling Kensei to happen. It's
It's like
it's like this
fetch.
fetch thing. Yeah, they've
That,
been trying to make it for a long time. The Fubatsu Blade is the sort of card you need, where it's like you
Fubatsu
make your
Blade, yeah. This
Kensei
is the
big
first.
and his G is big, and
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, this is the first real one-handed weapon we've seen in a long time. Like they were stuck on 2+2+1 all over the dang place forever. And finally, here's a reasonably costed +3+1. And
Right, so
so,
2 of these on a 3 force Kensei is a 9 force unit, and from there
right, and now
you're
you're
on your
cooking
way.
with gas. Like now
Yep.
you're talking. Now you've got your 9 force guy, and you give him your eternal armor, and he's 11 force guy, and we can kind of talk. Um, so I like Fubatsu Blade a lot. I mean, I don't like the deck. I don't like Kensei very much, but
No,
to
and
the
I
extent.
don't like these sort of dually military decks at the moment right now. I think they're kind of poorly positioned in the format, but this is a fine card that we'll see play in all those kinds
Right.
of
If
decks.
if you want to play that deck, play Fubatsu Blade. And so then we can talk to Ichiro's Yomi. I don't know how to evaluate this card against a card like Crude Daikyu.
I think it's to me it's better because you always get value from the -3 force penalty, and if you happen to kill it, that's great. So to me, it's just straight better. I
Sure.
don't know where's the trouble exactly.
That it interacts less well with a card like Unholy Strike.
Except it doesn't because you can still interrupt the range 0 attack.
Okay, sure. I was
Oh, but
looking at
like
that legal target line as like it's only if it's 0, but I guess you can shoot bigger guys, so it always makes the range 0. But I
right.
guess that only applies if like you're reducing the force of the guy that has a follower, and then you can't
Right,
use
so
those
like
attacks.
if the guy is 4 force, you can Crude Daikyu plus Unholy to kill it. Where if this, yeah, I think you can still do that actually. So to me,
Yeah,
it's
so yeah,
just
if it's a
straight
five
better.
force, yeah, if you have a 5 force guy, yeah, it's just straight better. You're right. So
So
you
it
know,
only goes on Samurai, so that's a restriction. It doesn't have Expendable. But this card's gas, but nobody played Kudaiku, so I feel like people should play Ichiro's Yumi. I think it's good,
this
but
card saw
maybe they
some
won't.
French play back in Lotus or back in
Yeah, I
Red
feel like
Diamond.
the Corrupt Mantasy card decks are gonna play this,
Oh yeah,
and you put it on a naval guy, and then
it's a
you
great
put it
naval
on
option.
hell, put it on your naval Kensei along with your Ashigara archers, and now you have naval uh, ranged 5.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Well, yeah, I think
that's
some of the Sheikah Sensei decks will be in the market for this because they've got Unstoppable
yeah, exactly.
Assault, and so it'll be like -2, -3 range 0, you dead, or like Unholy Strike or Engage or Strike as the Earth. Hey, this card's great. It plays really well with that whole action suite.
So you've been down on so many items, but I feel like so far we're holding on, we're holding on. And then here's Lacord Armor, which is another sort of kind of like if you tilt your head and you think about it and you run through the repetition, you can absolutely see yourself playing this card, even though it never really shows up in any decks. The ability to just like tireless send your guy home feels like it could be. I mean, it's a Khan's Defiance card. Khan's Defiance was a great set.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I play this. I
and
play this for the
this is
trait,
a
not for
really
the
relevant
ability.
trait, right?
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah, I
cards
mean,
in the unit. So this is another one of those like arrows that points to like load up with your gunsos and your lacquered armor as you go to town.
I really
Um,
like it for like my lion guy who I want to defend with to take some actions to try to draw some cards and then they get out of dodge. It's great for throw on your Daiodoji Kinta, shoot a thing, run home.
absolutely.
All good
So
stuff, right?
yeah, this card has a lot of applications. The force to gold ratio is effective. It's just the problem at the end of the day is that it's a card. That like
It's also another pseudo conqueror, right? Like you
yep, yep,
assign all
yep.
your guys and they don't defend and they run home. So that's the problem with all these cards. But I feel like this one's in the mix as well.
Yeah, like well, no. What I was trying to say is that the problem with this is it's a fate card. Like it has to occupy space in your fate deck, and it's tough sometimes to justify a card like this because it's just like it's a little tiny force pump with these little marginal abilities, and like is it good enough? Is it not? it ends up being like in the 30th card range, and those cards kind of go pretty quick when you're trying to add like more 3-ofs, 3-ofs, 3-ofs.
Yeah, it's hard to build around a card like this is really the problem. It's there for sort of meta application in these corner case situations, and that's generally not what you want your Fate deck to be filled with. Here's Lost Blade of the Maharaja, now with the two-handed keyword.
Yeah.
I played it some. It was never very good. I ended up never really playing it after. Like, I played at the start of Ivory for a while.
That's the thing, is that this card was legal as a one-handed and didn't see any play, so I don't see why we'd see any play if it was a two-handed.
Yep. I mean, it's a fine ability. It was just never enough. It was never what I ended up really wanting.
Yeah, I mean, we just torched up Ichira's Yumi like crazy. That's just a 3 gold item that makes a -3. This is a 7 gold that makes like a -6. But 7 gold and 3 gold. It's interesting. Like, you see these big effects and you think, well, you like that one, you don't like this one.
It's all about gold costs, right? It's all just about.
Yeah, what I'm trying to get to. Cheapness is king. Like, efficiency is king in L5R, and 3 for 7 is a deficient.
And especially with the Lost Blade, one of the problems I had is that, like, I'd bow one of their guys, and it would always have low force. But it's like, if I'm always just bowing a 3/4 guy, I could do that with, like, fear effects. It's just, I like it. It's nice to have big attachments, and this is the closest thing that we have to Worm Bony Katana type things. This and Thunder, whatever. But all that does to me is highlight sort of how far these weapons and items have fallen. Ominous Armor, a card that exists just to make me and Jesse sad.
That's right. Interacts very negatively with Planted Evidence. Please don't play this card, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you play it to protect yourself from ranged attacks. Just play Liquid Armor, pretty much straight up better. It's just not.
Don't play this card. It'll make us
Ward of Air.
Personally
you can
upset.
Play Bad Clan Shugenjas and Ward of Airs for battle things.
We know that items. We know that spells are totally pushed, but like as far as this goes as an item, if for some crazy reason you don't want to play Bad Clan Chicken spells and Strength of the 5th Ring with Shrine to Hachiman and all of our favorite pet cards, you can reach for this. I never have any problem with this card.
I just don't think it ever really belongs, except for huge basement metagame. Shout out to Kevin Whaley.
Yeah, for sure. I feel that way too. The problem with it now is that there's no deliberations. There's none of these.
Right. It's not. Yeah.
So I don't know. Okay, so
there is your big standard.
Jirushi. This is the other standard I was talking about. This is the other one that pushes me towards like, hey, don't you want to play 1,000,000 followers?
Yep.
Range attacks in the unit, you have +1 strength, but it also gives you +1 force. Basically saying the force doesn't apply for ranged attacks. It gives you extra defense against melee attacks, helpfully though, and shield wall is legal, and you can play lacquered armor to give -1. So like that deck, like if you can picture a unit that's got like five followers and an Omura Jitsuri and a Gunso and maybe 2, like that's a lot of it adds up really quick. There's a lot of these sorts of effects.
Right, but you have to worry about their ranged attacks when you play these in multiples, right? So you really need those shield walls. And like now you're playing a deck that's dependent upon shield wall, and that feels like a pretty odd place to be.
Well, I'm just saying, man, this is like there's a lot of these blanket +1 forces, and this has been like my recurring theme, and like I'm calling all of these +1 force cards like really, really aggressively and saying like these are cards to look at, these are cards to care about. And the reason I'm doing that is because this is still Math Edition. Nothing's changed. If anything, the cards have gotten worse because some of the good like Coils of Madness type cards have cycled out. It's like standing there and having a bajillion force with a Conqueror unit is still the best thing you can be doing ever. And so these sorts of cards really facilitate that. Now, do they have drawbacks and are there holes in that strategy? Of course there are. But it's something to start looking at as a way to say, like, how do you break the format? You break the format by just having these big invincible units, and these cards can sort of start getting you in that direction.
So you're saying you don't break the format using items that remove themselves from the game to blow up holdings? Is that what you're telling me? Because I really was hoping that's how we would break the format.
I love that this is only 4 gold.
So this card is actually awesome, right? Like, this is an awesome card, especially because people are going to get a ton of holdings out with 1-for-1s, and then you can spend 4 to blow up things and just sort of disrupt them critically. I just don't think that that's enough. I feel like the scatter shot disruption effect by having 3 of these in your face. Now, if I could cycle this back in with my Yasuki traders and just start blowing up all their gold while trying to lock them down, like that might be a path to victory. Or
Yes,
even
you
if I could
can.
spirit it, dispute it up, and always stop my opponent from ever having any kind of honor producing holdings or something, like maybe. I don't know what I'm using this on right now. The fact it causes honor loss is kind of a non-board. Like I had this idea, like, oh, I'll play it to blow up Brilliant Cascade in to
Right.
make dishonor
That's
players work. I just this is a cool card that seems really powerful, and it'll absolutely destroy these big holding decks if anybody plays them. But I don't see it. I don't see what I'm supposed to do with it.
I think this card allows Spider players to beat Dishonor.
Yeah, I disagree completely. The thing that's beating them isn't the reason Spider loses to Dishonor isn't because of holdings. It's because ramifications causes a 2 honor loss. Inexplicable challenge causes
Yeah,
a 2
okay.
honor loss. Oppression causes a 2 honor loss. I
Fair
played
enough.
4 of these and my game is over.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. But I think that this might have room in like a control deck as like a disrupt. Yeah,
Sure.
because the 4 more holdings, like you brought up, it like 4 sounds like a lot. You think like, well, okay, I blow up their 5th holding, they still have 4 other holdings. Well, what if 2 of those are 1-for-1s, and you blow
Yep.
up their 4-for-4? And like you get to pick
Yep.
if they have 5 holdings, you get to pick. So if they've got like a Forgotten Legacy, two one
That's
for
correct.
ones, and like a Nexus of Lies, you blow up their Nexus of Lies, and you feel really good about yourself.
Until they just grab another Forgotten Legacy on their next turn, and all we did is sort of play a sort of time walkie game. Like, what am I playing this in? How is it helping me advance my victory condition? It just feels very stally,
You're
very
playing it, yeah.
dirtle.
You're playing it and kill all the guys. Ambush, Ninja Shapeshifter deck.
Okay, well, I'm not playing it in those things, but I
You're not
guess.
you're not
I
playing
mean,
the deck. You're not going to
blowing
play.
up blowing up holdings has been at very specific points of time a very powerful effect, and controlling your opponent's gold has been a very specific deck. But it takes more than just this kind of item as a one-shot usage. Like just explosives never really got there. Explosives, when you could tutor for it with unexpected finds and do all these other things, that got there. And I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like the supplemental assistance that is required to break this card isn't there right now. But it
Well,
could show up, and if
I
it
don't think
does, cool.
I don't think breaking this card is where you want to have your head at. Like I don't think that
Okay.
like this isn't gonna turn into an Arthur Halhala in this deck where you can cycle your
Yep.
Festival Sanawo infinitely and blow up all their stuff. Like I don't think that's what we're looking at here.
Sure.
Um, it's a card that gives you production advantage. You say it time walks yourself, um, but like that's if you're a go first, like why wouldn't like Lion Blitz want to play a card like this? Why wouldn't a high honor faction that attacks first want to play a card like this and use it on their 3rd or 4th turn and then keep going? And you can play 3 copies. You say it's like a one-off, but you can play 3 of them. It's not unique.
Yeah, I'm saying like you're only gonna have it at the time you want to play. Like I feel it's like a card you'll only resolve once a game. I guess that's just me being sort of how many you're gonna draw, how many you're gonna want to spend and attach. You're right. To me the opportunity cost isn't worth it. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it ends up being scattered into a lot of decks
I
just
think this,
because.
yeah, I think this is like a Crane Lion type card.
Just
Ultimately, like I
play
said,
go first military and use as like scatter shot disruption. Okay.
yeah, you
The
take away
reason
their go first advantage.
I mean, if you really want to know, the reason I don't want to play it in my Lion deck is because they could have a Nexus of Lies, and then I'm losing like 5 honor, and that's a big hit, and then I can't buy my personalities, and now I can't attack.
Right, but you can control when you lose the honor, and you're
Yeah,
never going
you're
to, and you can't
100%
play.
correct.
It's not explosives. You have to have a guy to play this, so you've already gained 3.
Yeah, I just and I can't if it doesn't have the 4 or more, maybe I can talk myself into playing as a way to sort of really stifle their development. But I don't. I guess it's great against fortification decks, but for me, this is a total pass.
Well, like I said, I
So
think so you can blow up their 4th holding, and everyone's playing 1-for-1s. Like I really think that like this is going to have a little bit of gas to it. We'll see how it pans out. Let's talk instead about
yeah,
Red Fang's Hunger.
was a good card before. Is a good card still. Good focus or good battle ability. Good focus value. The cost of force isn't great, but it's okay. Puts out these poison tokens to set up. It's best. I don't like. You'll play it in these weird ninja dueling decks, and the hit will be reduced to 1 honor when you attach it. But the place it had value before and still has value is wounded in battles and strike as the earth.
Oh, yeah.
That's fine.
Chi-Death.
Tay-Route. Chi-Death, sweet sub package card. Perfectly fine item. Happy to see it back. Still one-handed. Double it up on your Kinsey.
Hey.
I kind of thought it might become two-handed. But
Sepin's Blessed Blade. This is
no
Shiba
comment.
Sakimi's sword. Otherwise, I've got nothing for it here. Two-handed is just such rub-ins on this card.
You're right. It is kind of fun on Shiba Sakimi. 5/4s for 5 gold. That's okay. But yeah, there's nothing going on here. Equal to current, so if they're dishonored, it's 0 and it's awful. And low.
Yeah. In theory, there's ways.
+2 chi. I think it's. I mean, there's Exquisite Nagamaki and Sepin Blessed Blade. This one has lower focus value though, so I mean, maybe for the +2 chi, but
I'm not impressed.
Now Tachi, we were just talking about chi bonuses. Gives you +3 chi, and +3 force. That's kind of a lot for 7 gold. The only reason I can see myself playing Tachi is just as some sort of attempt to bully duel. It's got the 1 focus, kind of non-bow. Your focus cards are not bonuses, so like, okay, you can still duel and focus with this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It's a very strange. I assume they're not. That's definitely a rules question. But this is such a trait out of time. I remember this card from back in the day. I think it was a gold edition card. Maybe even before.
Yeah, this is another one of those. This is another one of those cards from A Perfect Cut, and I remember like having a bunch of copies because I bought a lot of A Perfect Cuts. I was in college. It was like the first set that came out when I was at like State or something.
Yeah.
No, maybe my time.
It would have been before that because we were hanging. That was like early Diamond. That's when we started hanging out. But
yeah, but I remember buying for whatever reason I bought a bunch of A Perfect Cut, and boy did I regret it.
I bought a bunch of Perfect Cut because they had it at the Wizards of the Coast store in the mall.
Yeah, that might be it. It might have just been cheaper. I think it was just like it was a watch.
I forget get that trashed out of there. This is because that was when Wizards owned L5R for 2 seconds.
Yep, I just remember I bought like what's the standard purchasing of a set? 3 booster boxes, and I bought like 5 booster boxes or something. I won it, or I remember having I still have an unopened booster box here at the house somewhere. Like I got.
We should draft it someday.
It's just a nightmare, and I got a ton of this card, and I played it in Yasuki Palaces because it made 5 gold for items, and that was okay. Given it was a cheat gimmick, so to get around Ninjutsu challenges and Ninjutsu duels at the time, and that still works today. So.
What is going on in this picture?
In the Tachi picture, it's just a guy swinging a sword around.
Where is the guy?
He's holding his sword above his head.
But it looks like he's sideways. Like, where is his head?
Don't you see his little bun? He's got a bun there. Don't you see it sticking his little samurai knot? He's holding his thing like this, and he's swinging it.
Oh, there's a lamp. I thought the lamp was his head. It looks like that's kind of like his ear, and in like the whole picture. That's like there's a window,
and he's got one of those weird paper lantern things hanging off the. Well, I mean, there's a perspective to it because it was somebody watching from the floor. So I don't know who was filming in Citizen Kane, Jesse. It's one of those mysteries.
All right, next card. We've been talking about Tachi for way too long.
Let's get
throwing.
This could be Ryan Roman's favorite item of all time. So shout out there. The man loves his throwing knives. It was an Imperial gift card. So it was like free. It was one of these things that came in like a free set. And man loves promos. And Imperial gift was kind of a promo, but kind of not because everybody had it. So it wasn't like a hard to get promo. But I don't have much to say about this. I guess it's naval, but your guys' naval don't have that high of force. It's a weapon, so if you put it on your naval Kensei and Mantis, maybe, but I don't like this card at all.
It's a way to make a really big ranged attack. That's about it.
Yeah, but your guy has to then be really big, and
Well,
that's not.
Well, what you're gonna
do? That's not what LFR is anymore.
What you're gonna do is you're gonna play the spell that increases a numeral on a holding. Now, what you're
Mhm.
going to increase, of course, is the numeral 1 on the holding alchemist lamp, so that you can increase your burning spirit by 2, so that you can raise it to 4 force, and then you're going to raise your dude's force repeatedly with your
Sure.
Jade Ascensions, and you're going to throwing knives for like 15. Though I don't know, I don't get this card. I don't think it's any good. I don't see why Ryan Romans would love it. The art isn't even that great.
Um, I do think we should maybe talk. We've talked before about how you can get back. We talked before about like Spirited Dispute ways to like get your items back. If you like run out of fake deck, you can just keep recycling your throwing knives over and over. I
Right.
don't know.
If I want to be picking up degenerate items with those, if I'm down to picking up throwing knives, then I went somewhere wrong in
Uh,
life. Like I should have watched Scared Straight when I was a kid.
so moving on to Tiger Claw, which was this Gates or F? It was one of those sets,
Aftermath. This
and
saw
nobody
quite a
played
bit
it.
of
And
play in early.
yeah, I was gonna say nobody played it, but I'm a little off. It saw some fringe play for a minute, but it's just the effect and force modifier equivalent to the cost turns out to not really work and stack up the way you want it to, and I think
3
that's
for
still.
5. Yeah, 2
I just don't
force.
think it's enough. So
I remember it popping up in lists that we pilfered off the internet, like when we first
yeah,
started doing these
it feels
videos.
like it's a fine card, but it just ends up not being. It's the Fear 3 problem where it's like after a while it's just not that good.
You know what makes Melee 3 a lot cheaper? Like a bunch of
But
different followers.
yeah. So.
Versatile Blade is still Versatile Blade.
Good card, great card, even just versatile, and as the name
Uh,
suggests, and the discard cost thing has always been manageable and still is,
Even more
and
so
I like
now with
this
the Temples of
card.
Destiny, yeah.
Yep.
Mantis will still probably play. There might still be a build of like Big Idiots Mantis.
Yeah, this card also saw some play because of the big idiot dualiness of those decks.
Yeah,
I think that's sliding out. I think those days are sort of behind us. The people will always try because people have to try to bring back past decks and new variations,
for sure.
and people will play Versatile Blade.
Well, that
And we
deck specifically got like back a bunch of its tools and gained some more too. So I think that it might just work exactly the deck that we've
yeah,
always been playing.
fair enough. Yeah, like Arani Sensei Mantis with gold and big dude and attachment and
Yeah,
attack.
like
Sure.
they didn't get Justice back. That was pretty much the only piece they didn't get back. Because that deck was
They
really
don't
close to
have
not less anything anyway.
They don't have like the naval guy. They don't have really what they don't have is the smattering of uniques that filled the deck out. So you have to play a bunch of these non-unique. Anyway, on to the last and probably the least Wooded Nunchuck. It's Caillou Axe. Only dishonors your guy and has courage. Okay, I played Caillou Axe. I guess if I want 3 more copies of Caillou Axe, I'll play Wooden Nunchuck, and I'm done.
It's
And
another 2 for us. I mean, you should mention that's another 2 gold detachment. So like this deck that can play like Lane of Immorality and Soil of the Toil
yep,
of the Zokujin and Blitz out with cheap attachments, I think is worth investigation. We've hit sort of a critical mass now. You can run like 12 of them, it looks like.
yeah, I kind of like there might be a deck, and I even have a list for it that's just like it gets gold on 1 and then just guys on 2 and then just throws various attachments down on its 2 or 3 guys that it got in those couple of turns and just tries to like steamroll you off the momentum of that,
Yeah.
and just trying to pick up the pace a little bit. And I do think that 20 festivals can have some of these faster decks. I mean, it can support them. You have to dive into the pool a little bit more, and they might have a little bit higher level of fragility, but they're still out there. So, and this is a card that
Yeah, and I
supplements them.
mean Blitz is good. Blitz is good for L5R. It sucks to get blitzed out, and when it happens, you sort of sit there at the table and feel like a big idiot. And hey, it's happened to me. It's happened to me in Coaches. I got blitzed out by that stupid blow up your holding, make a guy attack deck and late Emperor. It didn't feel good, but
Yep.
it's a positive thing for the environment. It pushes out a lot of the sort of degenerate kill all the guys decks that I like to
Goofy, yeah.
play. Yeah.
I mean, it keeps things honest.
Mm-hmm.
It's an important dance to have. Where you have to have faster military decks to keep honest these other sort of like build impenetrable wall, weird, goofy decks. So.
The trick is just you never want them to be too good. It's getting them into just that right
Exactly so.
point.
And
Yeah.
I feel like that's where they're at with 20 festivals.
Yep. All right, guys. So that was items. I promised it would be quick, and we're coming in right at the half-hour mark here. So I think items are the least good of all of the attachment suites, but there were still some gems in there.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't think the problem hasn't been and is not now like the specific items themselves. And we go back and we watch this, which we tend not to do for our own videos, but I feel like our commentary on items is sort of like, okay, that's decent, this is okay, this is good, this is acceptable. The problem is the card supporting around items, the way the games play out, the way items interact with ranged attacks and fear effects and other effects like this. Like they're under the curve because of all this other sort of stuff that's to the side of them, and the items themselves aren't powerful enough to move them past their inherent weaknesses. So you just keep it. It's a family dojo type problem where followers weren't better than items like straight up, but because you had family dojo, suddenly all your followers were better, right?
Yep.
And that's kind of the issue that still haunts items to this day. You can do cooler, better things with spells and followers.
Very cogent. I don't know why there isn't they haven't made like a give all your items +1 force type card.
They're starting to say things. There's a holding that lets you transfer the goofy tokens, but it takes 9 years to come online, and you can only give one token to one item. Developed Quarry is what I'm thinking of. It's just they're cautious, and I think they're rightfully cautious because in Emperor Edition, Kensei was this monstrosity of a deck, and it never stopped being a really great deck, and it's because they pushed items to the forefront because Brian Reese really likes Kensei, and that's fine, but you can understand their sort of caution with two-handed and one-handed and how they don't want to get away from them. So.
Okay, so that's items. Let us know what you think. Blah, blah, comment, Twitter, Facebook. Until next time, I'm Jesse. That is Paul. This has been Enough Talk.
Anyway.